Bitcoin is on the move once again. We had a little pump this morning. I am Eastern Standard Time. This is September 30th. So we have a lot going on. We have the end of the month. We have the beginning of a new quarter, end of the week. We got a lot of stuff coming up for Bitcoin. So the question is, what is Bitcoin going to do? So let's take a look at the charts. And again, I am not a technical analyst. I follow the analysis of others, the best in the industry that I can find, and kind of take what they're saying. I look at the macroeconomic environment to make my own decisions. What I've been doing, I've got the coin market cap pulled up here, looking at altcoins, and I've been kind of playing altcoins because they've been having some 10, 20, 30% rips over a few days here and there. These have been a lot of fun. I've identified a couple little patterns to key in on there to kind of catch some of these. The last one I rode was Filecoin, and here it is right here. And Filecoin was a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the chart here for Filecoin Trading View. So we'll take a look at that. And Bitcoin's kind of ranging right now. A little bit of price discovery going on, but the altcoins have been a lot of fun to play with. And so Filecoin, I took this little trade here and just kind of rode that one a little bit. And I'd been watching that one for the last couple of weeks since down in this area. And it's been kind of ripping up and down. I took a little trade from here to here. And, the key to a lot of these things is you want to get them on the bottoms. You want to get in on these when there's a big sell-off going on, everybody's dumping. That's when you want to jump in and buy and just kind of ride that up a little bit. And you can get 10% out of them and let them go, or you can ride them all the way up, but they will range, they will trade up and down a little bit. So generally, if I can glean 10, 15%, that's good enough for me. I don't need to stay in and watch some of these things rip like a couple of them have been doing. So that's what I've been doing for the most part, is playing around with the altcoins and just kind of trying to catch those on the bottom when everybody else is getting out. So let's take a look at Bitcoin, because as we know, as goes Bitcoin, as goes the market, right? There's your Bitcoin price on the daily and the altcoin cap, total altcoin market cap on the daily. Very similar price action going on. So as Bitcoin strengthens, altcoins will weaken. As altcoins strengthen, a lot of times Bitcoin weakens, and that's capital flow, right? Capital flowing in and out of these assets. The interesting thing is these markets are all joined at the hip these days. As we saw, the dollar was ripping up the last couple of days, a little bit down today, but still generally up. But gold was on a tear earlier today. Gold had a little bit of a move, from 1723 up to 1762, but gold's been trending down lately, but it did have a little bit of a pump this morning with Bitcoin, which is interesting. And of course, the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P are all a little bit down today. So we're still looking like we're beginning the downtrend there. And again, that's generally, unless there's a big market accident, black swan like the pandemic, you're generally not going to see just a big dump when it comes to traditional markets. That's more like Bitcoin here. That's more of a gradual roll. And a lot of times you don't have these huge spikes down, but sometimes you do when there's serious environments. When you go back to like the 2008 and 9 financial crisis, you go back to the March pandemic, you see these big drops in traditional markets, but generally they're going to bleed out over time. They're going to roll over, and they're going to, drop, pump, drop, pump, drop, pump, and just kind of work their way down, kind of like the price action pattern we're in right now with Bitcoin. So the question is, where's Bitcoin going to go? I'm targeting this 37,000 level here. So this price action right here looks remarkably similar to this price action here. And again, we're all automated algorithmic trading in terms of the futures options. Institutional investors out there, hedge funds, they use, you've seen some of the interviews I've done where they use automated trading based on algorithms. So these are all programmed into the system. So this price action, if you go back and look at Bitcoin over the last couple of years, you'll see a lot of these patterns in there, because these are just Wyckoff patterns that are programmed into the systems. You get a lot of ABCs, Elliott waves. All this stuff is programmed with Fibonacci retracements, things like that, as far as key levels, when to sell, when to buy, things like that. So what's interesting about this price action is we had this little peak right here, our first drop on the way up, and then a pump. And then we came down over here after the peak right here, and we had this blow off right here, which this was the blow off top. I know a lot of people say there was no blow off top. Well, this is it right here. And when you zoom out on this price action, yeah, it definitely starts to look a little bit different, especially when you go in on a weekly and you go in on a monthly. That's where you start to get your, more of a visual on the blow off top. So whatever, that's up for debate. Doesn't really matter. It's neither here nor there. It's all price action, but this was your peak, 65,000. We had our first drop, put in a lower low for the first time, breaking this last higher low. We put in a lower high, breaking this last higher high. Downtrend confirmed, then a big dump. Then we had this sideways to downward sideways price action right here. And then we had a little pop and then a drop. So where did that drop to? It basically dropped to this level of initial resistance that became support in this peak right here where we had the first pullback. So that was about the $29,000 level on the way up back in October, November, December, January of last year. And then it was February, we were off to the races into the April peak of 2021. So what have we done right now? We've dropped, range sideways. We hit the bottoms, our little stop of 29,000. Then we popped. We had this first little pullback right here where this area of resistance was now became support right here. And then we pumped up again, rolled over. We had a little blow off top. Then we had a little bit of action, drop. Now we're ranging sideways. So what it looks like is that this area we're in right here is this area over here. So what can you expect if we are repeating, and that's an if we're repeating this price action here, what can we expect next is a little drop to a point. So in this price action cycle here, it looks like we can expect to drop down to about 30, 37, 38. Well, let's say our close was 38,000. So a close of 38,000, but you could very well wick down to 37 and as much as 35, 36,000, but close above 37,000 and somewhere in that 37.5 to 37.8 range. And then you could reverse the trend from there, kind of like we did over here, and then be back to that all-time high. And again, we have not completely reversed trend and worked our way and are working our way back to all-time highs till we cross 65,000. Right now, that is our cycle peak. We could very well be in a sideways, what a lot of people would call a bear market. It's just sideways accumulation in an overall uptrending bull market cycle for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's entire life history, when you zoom out, has obviously been an upward trending bull market. So we're just looking at basically price action here. Hang on, here we go, log scale. So price action here over the overall cycle of Bitcoin in terms of the trend has always been up. So we've had our ups, downs, ups, downs. So when you zoom out, basically what this crypto winter bear market cycle, a lot of people refer to, is basically just sideways consolidation, preparing for a bigger up move, uptrend. So that's one way to look at it versus looking at it as a bear market. It's just a sideways consolidation where you're going to have some consistent price action with a little bit of drops. Of course, this was our March drop here in the pandemic. And then you had a lot of sideways consolidation after that with an up, sideways, little drop, sideways, up, up, up. And you always get those sideways consolidations along the way, preparing for that overall up move. So that's very what we could expect here. So we can expect a rollover here if we're going to continue this downtrend that we're in right now of lower highs, and lower lows. And what we're looking for now, we've already printed another lower high. This daily close here today probably will be another lower high potentially. And then, what we're looking for is to print a lower low below this last low at 40,000 to confirm a continued down to that 37. If we break that, then we're going to go back down here and we're going to be testing this 29,000 region again, which likely will hold. I thought this would go down lower. It did not. It definitely held right there and price was ripped up. So I think there's enough buying pressure here unless there's a big macro event in the economy, in the markets, traditional markets. I think that's going to continue to hold. The only way I see us breaking that is if we just have a big deleveraging event in the markets and the traditional markets just continue to wail and continue to sell off as we go through the end of the year. And typically the biggest market crashes we've had in the history of the world have all been in that October, November, December through the first of the year timeframe, and particularly in the October month for traditional markets. So we're kind of setting up for that. And what happens is you get these dumps and you get a little bit of a pop, a little bit of a green day, then you get a big red day, a little bit of a green day, and it's 1 or 2% at a time. Next thing you know, you're down 15, 20%. That's how traditional markets work, as opposed to an exponential asset like Bitcoin that just has these explosive moves up and down. The reason is there are still a lot of whales that can manipulate this market because it's such a small market cap in the whole scheme of things when you compare it to like gold or the stock markets or something like that. And a very large percentage of Bitcoin is held by a small percentage of wallets. So it's easy to manipulate that price. And now you have hedge funds and institutions that can come in here and spend money to manipulate the price, excuse me. Like you saw here with this little pump up to get it out of that range. And let's go down to the hourly and you can see it even more clearly when you get these big pumps like that. Yeah, it's obviously institutional driven, whale driven to pump up into these ranges, which is kind of what we've been doing. And what that does, that draws people in, right? That's a liquidity hunt. It draws people in. And that's what you got to watch out for in these cycles. So we went over the waterfall here and then we sideways traded, had a little pump, drop, sideways trade, drop. You get a big pump, sucks people in, drop, and then it works its way up again. People get excited. You get a big rip, sucks people in, then drops. And it kind of repeats over and over and over. Where you get these pumps, everybody jumps in because they don't want to miss the turnaround. And then it turns around and dumps on them. So just like I said, the last couple of weeks, if you look at price action, you want to do your own homework, do your own due diligence, go back over the last couple of weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They've all been this pump into the Thursday, Friday, and then dump throughout the weekend into Monday, Tuesday. Pump back up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, dump. So that's been happening the last couple of weeks across the board for the total altcoin market for Bitcoin. And then of course, a couple of these coins that I've been playing with, and I'll show you here what can get you if you're not careful, like some of these altcoins, like an engine coin. Okay, if you look at the hourly, you look at engine coin kind of ripping here and you're like, oh man, this thing's going to just shoot, because we've seen these things go parabolic, right? Let's find one recently that did that. Let's take Cody, for instance. Cody's been ripping and doing a lot of different things. A lot of the different coins have been on that, but I want to find one that just went absolutely parabolic. Recently, where it can draw, like something like this, where it can draw you in. So you see this move and you think, man, I'm going to jump in. And usually people jump in right in this area here, and then it gets caught and it reverses on you. So again, you want to be jumping in down at the bottoms. You want to be jumping in when it feels like, man, this thing could go to zero. I mean, that's when you want to jump in on these things versus jumping in right here. Okay, this is where it catches people. So you see this little move here, you take a look at this and you're thinking, man, all I got to do is get back to here. Price is reversing. We got this W pattern. This is just gonna rip. This is where it suckers people in. This is where you jump in right here. It might go a little bit more than it reverses on you. So down here at these bottom points, that's where you want to be in on this price action. Then, let it rip up 10, 20%, then you get out of there and watch it dump. But that's what it does. You see how it rips right here? People jump in thinking this is going to continue, goes up a little bit, then it dumps on them. Most people get caught right in here in this trade. And then they either get out, lose some money, or they just ride it out. So that's how a lot of these coins work, and they'll fool you. Like you see these parabolic moves here, and that's a decent little move. I mean, that's probably somewhere in the range of, it's about 50. That was a 50% move right there over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. So these are the things that, this happened at midnight Eastern Standard Time last night. So these are hard to catch if you're on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. But, if you see something like this going on, you could potentially, if you got a nice big candle, jump in and catch the rest of it. But it could also reverse on you just like it's doing right now. So these things are tricky. But like right here, looks like, hey, man, maybe I should jump in on this one. This is ORN. I think that's Orion. You see a nice big candle. Looks like a good opportunity to jump in based on what Poly just did. Looks like the same price action, right? So you're going to assume, hey, that's going to continue. So it makes you feel like maybe I should jump in here. Sometimes they'll work out and it'll continue, but a lot of times it's only 1 or 2 coins that have already ripped. These ones will set you up. They get you to jump in right here. They might bounce a little bit, then boom, they're down on you. So you got to be careful with those things. Ideally, you want to be buying at the bottom of these cycles, and you want to zoom out and look at what's the worst case that can happen, right? So if you go back to June, July bottom back here a few months ago, and you see that that was at $3.50. Right now you're at 8.20. That could get cut slam in half. Chances are, unless it's a bad accident, it's not going to go below that July low overall. But if we have a market situation, you know, it very well could. Then you want to zoom out and look at that daily. And what does the daily chart look like overall? Because several altcoins have already ripped past their all-time highs. This hasn't. So if Bitcoin runs, altcoins are going to run. So this one will have some room. So those are the types of things you want to look at if you're going to play in the altcoin space. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do, because these things, the rug can come out from underneath you quick. In altcoins, Bitcoin, you know, this looks like a big move, but it's really not all that much in the whole scheme of things. This is probably let's see what this one is. This one is, it's about a 47. Oh, I'm on the daily. Hang on. I'm on the wrong chart. I'm looking for the hourly here. There we go. Let's take a look at this hourly chart here. Okay, that's what I'm looking at right here on Bitcoin. So this move here was, that was a big one for Bitcoin lately. That was 7%, but Bitcoin's been moving 4 or 5%, doing that range thing where it's ranging $4,000 or $5,000, you know, in that 40 to 43 range, and then it pumps up and moves to 44, 45, and then it dropped back down. So we're doing that sideways range thing. And what I'm looking for, this is the hourly right here. This is July, 29,000. What I'm looking for is this level right here, 37,000. I think Bitcoin is potentially going to round the top, hit the 37. Then we could see the bounce, and we're back to test that 50,000 range again to see if we can get past that 702 Fibonacci retracement level that it got rejected at just before recently. Or it could break through here. And if it breaks through, closes below 37,000, then we're going to go back and we're going to test this July low here. Good news is that will probably hold. We could bounce from there unless traditional markets are having a big problem. And then that's going to be a problem for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto markets. In general, it's a liquidity play. Money's flowing in and out of the markets. So those are the things I'm looking at for, this is Thursday, September 30th, 2021. Those are the things I'm keeping my eye on going into the weekend. We could see the same thing we've seen the last few weekends. You can look at that price action, see what's been happening, how this has been setting people up coming into the weekend's drop, coming into the weekend's drop. We could be doing that right now, continuing this downtrend. I don't feel like we're going to see a reversal right now. I feel like we're going to test at very minimum that 37,000 level, and definitely 40,000. And as we've been tapping here, just like we did on the other side of the price action, where that $40,000 level was tapped multiple times. So I will see you on the next video, and I hope you have a great weekend.